Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Casual Word and Casual Word Radio, where we continue our endeavor to change the world one word at a time. I'm your host, Langley, and I just first want to tell everybody that I appreciate the support and the love. A lot of things have been happening, a lot of transitions are going on in my life right now, but we know God is still in control. We know that He's still going to be doing what He does, and He's still going to be blessing in spite of what we see. And we know that God's still going to be able to take care of us even when it doesn't look like things are going to work out. So I just want to continue to encourage you all as you all and keep me encouraged. And I do want to thank everybody who's been following with me, who's been checking up on me, blessing me. I've had a lot of people really step up, and it means the world to me. So I'm very excited to be getting to a place where we can start these podcasts back up and really get things going again. We've got lots of projects coming. I've got 2 books that I'm working on. Other projects is why Mr. Broadwater is here. We're going to be talking about that. And I really was excited to have him come back on. If you guys who've been following me, he's one of my first guests. And so I thought, how great would it be as we relaunch the podcast and get things back going, to bring him back on to talk about a couple of projects. We've got a video series coming and some other things. He is the kind of creator and the person who has put the spark and awaken 2 movements that he has conceptualized, and not only conceptualized, but now have purpose, and they have feet, they have momentum, and we are working diligently together to continue to move forward with all of these projects, along with New Life Bristol. So, spoiler alert, I'm now the pastor of New Life Bristol, and that's exciting. All the official ordination stuff will be happening here in a couple of months, but just want to be excited about that, guys. And what New Life Bristol is a movement. We are trying to be hands and feet and a conduit to partner with other churches, other organizations like what Broadwater has here with Awaken and Spark, to place people in the proper role to guide them and help them become the best person that they can be as an individual, but also to groom them to be the best that they can be in their respective positions and whatever God has for them. So we are just excited about all the great things that God's doing. We're excited about all of these different projects from different organizations. I've got so many tentacles, if you will, so many things, so many spokes happening, lots of things going on. And we're just excited about all of that. So again, guys, I want to thank you for your continued support, for your continued diligence, for your continued viewership and readership of my books and the things that I post, as well as the things that we follow together. And again, I want to welcome Joseph back on the show. Man, it's been too long, and I appreciate you being here. So like we talked about, you got a video series coming up. And so tell us more about what that is.
Absolutely. And kind of get to the video series and kind of the purpose behind it. I know for Awaken, we've done a lot of different things. And for me, it is kind of, this season is a call back to really the heartbeat of Awaken. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the slumbering state that we see so many people in. Some of you are just snoozing through their times of just their passions, their excitements, the things that's really, they're called to bring them to life, but they've just kind of hit that snooze button on it. And I get it, life gets in the way. So that kind of goes back to this Storyteller Series, is the name of the new series that we're going to be kicking off at Awaken. And the whole purpose behind it is everybody's got a story to tell.
Right.
I was just thinking about it at the end of my life, when I'm on my deathbed, I'm really looking back at it. What legacy, what have I left behind? What have I invested into? What have I grown? What story am I telling right
Absolutely.
now? And at the end of our life, we're going to look back and we're either going to be filled with regret or, hey, I left something behind.
Definitely. And I think that's huge because, guys, you've heard me talk about this, that your legacy is the story that you leave behind for others to read when you depart from this plane. And so many of us have the opportunity and the potential to leave a legacy of positivity and a legacy of greatness. It may not be on a grand scale, but greatness is relative to the person who thinks that you're great. So you have the opportunity to make change and to change someone's life for better.
Yeah. And that's the thing about it. So many people have so much potential. And I found just kind of this thing inside of me that comes to life when I start speaking life into people and letting them know that they have purpose, that God's put something inside of them. And that's kind of our heartbeat through Spark and all the other initiatives that we have. It's because, I want people to come to life. And I just want to be that encourager, because so much things in our life are discouraging, they're heart-wrenching. We get so stuck in these ruts, so stuck in these places. And if it's just somebody who's willing to speak life into us, how much more potential can we have?
Absolutely. And I want to thank you personally, because you're someone who continually speaks life into me and keeps me encouraged. Guys, we talk about the encourager sometimes needs to be encouraged. And I think that a lot of us forget that. I know that I struggle with that simply because I'm so busy and I'm so caught up trying to do all the good, right? Being a do-gooder and doing the most good that I can, that, your cup does get empty,
Right.
and you need someone to pour back into you.
Right. And kind of going back to that principle, how good can we pour out when our cup is completely empty? It's kind of the thing about it. We are called to do great things, and we are called to invest into people. But if we are so empty, we don't have anything to give out. So we need, our first priority is always our relationship with God. Don't get me wrong, because I know some people will be like, "Oh, God's first." I get that. So people are quick to jump on that. But our next kind of priority is kind of ourselves, because if we are not healthy, if we are not in the right mindset, if we are not in the right positioning, we are no good to our family. We're no good to ministry. We're no good to our friends. We just get into this place where we become no good to anybody.
Absolutely. And shout out to my boy Chesco, because he put out a video, I think 2 days ago, talked about, having to be selfish first in order to be selfless. And what he was saying is that you have to take care of self. One place where you guys know, if you follow me, I struggle with that. And when you take care of yourself, he had coined a phrase, and I might mistake it. Chesco, I apologize if I destroyed this, but it was something to the effect that, if you don't take care of yourself, you are not in a position to give God the rest of you. You're not in a position to give him the best of you. You just give him the rest of you. And I thought that was very powerful, because that's been kind of what I've been struggling with, is like, I'm not giving everyone my best. I'm just giving them what I have left over, because I'm so depleted.
Right. And we can think, and especially ministry, I want to be able to help every single person that I encounter. I want to be able to pour out, but you've really got to look at it in kind of the mindset. How many people can I really pour into? How many people can I really invest into? Because so many of us are not in full-time ministry. We can't sit here and pour into so many people. So we have to kind of pull back that veil a little bit. Like, how many people can we actually invest into and pour into them very well? And I'm not saying we can't have other friends or other people outside of our circle, but if we're focusing so much on trying to grow our circle bigger and bigger, not focusing in on the main people in our circle, we're going to just drive ourselves thin. And I was listening to one podcast, and that's kind of for my ministry. How many people can you really actually pray for in a day? How many people can you actually reach out to in a day? And you need to really pull that back, because some people will run themselves thin. And realistically, I like to throw out that number, maybe 5 or 6 people that you can really invest into well. I'm not saying not go outside that circle, but really focusing in on that and investing in those people well, so they can invest in other people well. And it's just that system, the inward, and it keeps going out, branching out.
Yeah, it's a ripple effect, guys. And, you guys hear me talk about my wolf pack, and Broadwater is part of the pack. And it's a very close nucleus of men in particular that I can entrust with my most deepest hurt, my pain. I can be completely transparent, completely vulnerable, because we speak life and we pray for one another, and we keep each other accountable. And it is a small circle, but that's that nucleus you talk about. That's that core group where, as we grow and as we keep each other encouraged, then we're able to go out and encourage others, and then they're able to go out and encourage others. And that's that ripple effect that we talk about, because if you're depleted, and I'm depleted, and Chris Weininger depleted, well, how many people are we going to reach if we're all tired?
Right. You look at Jesus, and Jesus was doing it full time, but he had his 12 inner circle. And even when you look at it, he even had a smaller circle than that. Yeah, he had the 12 that was with him all the time, but really his conversations that he had, his interactions with, was even a smaller circle, because he knew he could not deplete himself. He could not be there for everybody. So that's why he had the disciples surrounding him. And he said, go out and disciple other people. Go out and surround yourself with other people. And you look at it through Peter, when he goes out and starts doing ministry, he has a small group. Paul goes out, he had a few people, Timothy and Titus, and just this few small group of people that he wrote the letters to and invested into, so they could go out and do greater things. So really the example that we should all be looking towards is kind of Jesus. If Jesus was willing to pull back and only have a small circle, why do we think we can do anything any better than what he did?
Absolutely. And that brings us to where I'm at right now, guys. I'm working on a new book called 40 Days and Nights, The Journey Through the Wilderness. And it's an autobiographical chronicle of the 3 most powerful instances of me having to go into the wilderness. And of those 3, 2 of them were voluntary, including what I'm in right now, where I realized I had to take that step back like Jesus did. He left the disciples and he went to the wilderness for 40 days. And so I've committed to 40 days of being in the wilderness to recalibrate, refocus, recharge, and kind of get reinvigorated with my walk with God. And to your point, if Jesus had to do it, why wouldn't we take that time for ourselves? And that was a hard lesson for me to learn.
And ministry in itself can be so much, it pulls so much energy out of us, because I mean, it's not necessarily because those people are bad, but people come along and they need some energy given to them. And when we're getting pulled out of all different directions, our energy, and pouring that energy into other people, it's exhausting.
It is.
And not saying those people are bad, because they need it too. But at some point in times we have to say, hey, I love you, but I'm gonna have to love you at a distance for now, because I'm gonna have to work on myself and my identity and really figure out what I'm supposed to be doing, and kind of praying through that process and getting in the right mindset and the position to come back even better and be like,
Absolutely.
hey, I'm here. I'm healed. God's done a huge work in me. Let's see what the next is.
And that kind of leads us into, what Spark and Awaken is as we have refilled, and so you fill to a point where your cup runs over, and then that overflow is what you can give to other people. With Spark in particular, it's about sparking new ideas, right, and about networking and bringing people in to energize them.
Right. Yeah. And then with being Spark and kind of the bigger picture of Awaken, I had to do that in an ministry standpoint for right now in this season. I'm really kind of drawing back on even Spark, and I'm going to get back with it. But for me, I want to kind of invest in a few groups of people that can actually come in and can do those positionings even better than I can. Someone who can come in and say, hey, I got these great visions. You were doing Spark, but let me tell you what I've got, and be able to do it even greater than I am in just that time of ministry. Even ministry, we have to really figure out, what am I putting my time in? Is it really impacting hugely, or can somebody else do it even better?
And that's a huge point. I think a lot of us in ministry, especially in leadership, and I've seen it, we've experienced it, we've been there, is that we have to relinquish that pride aspect, mm-hmm, and realize that delegation is a good thing, right? Just like Jesus delegated to the 12 disciples and his circles, and then told them to go out. If there is someone who can do a particular position better, why not let them do it? Right. And not have control over and micromanage every aspect of a ministry, because you're going to get burnt out.
Yeah. And when you try to do so much yourself, what you're really doing is robbing somebody else of their blessing, and someone else that they can kind of step into. Because if you're trying to do it all, how is that even being like Jesus instead of putting people up? I love Craig Rochelle. One of his things, I'll probably butcher the numbers, but like, if somebody can do what we can do 80% as good as we can, let them do it. Let them run with it. Let them succeed, because that's how they're going to grow and everything else. And that's kind of leadership in a nutshell.
Exactly. Your leadership is, as leaders, we talk about management in the practical sense. And a good manager may understand the process, but a good manager understands his people. Right. And a good manager understands, her needs and how they need to be met. Right. And whatever their positions are in management, the idea is to put people in the right positions to thrive, so that both the company and the person do better.
And kind of bring that full circle, that Storyteller Series. That's kind of the heartbeat behind it. Why I felt so called to do it right now in this season is figuring out other people's stories, figuring out where they can help plug them in, either another ministry, another church, or another organization, or maybe it's because Awaken's going to grow. And I love what you was talking about, the new life aspect of it. It's a movement, and that's exactly what Awaken is, because there's so many churches around here. I feel like the church is the people.
Yes.
And Awaken is the movement that's going to perpetuate the church and move those people out of the pews, because I'm not going to do what everybody else is doing, because I want to reach people that nobody else is reaching. So we've got to do things different, and that's going through empowering other people. Because we look at churches, so you've got a good first thing people start saying, well, I'm going to start a church, so I need to be a good speaker. I need to get a worship team. And they've already got all these things in a box. And next thing you know, you're only putting these few people up to do the work of the church. And that's not how Jesus designed it. So I'm kind of flipping that script. I want to see things done completely different. I want to bring all these different people in doing all different aspects of it. So we're all growing together, because Awaken is not me or what I'm doing. Yeah, God's gave me the vision. God's gave me the passion. And God's given me the drive for it. But I see it as being the people. Everybody who's going to
That's it. The body of Christ is the people. The church is the people. And so let us stop reinventing the wheel and continue to create building space that ends up sitting empty, and let us get out of these buildings. And I think that was one of the great things about the pandemic. If there is a silver lining, is that it's forced us outside of not only our comfort zone. We talk about discomfort, and that's a place for growth and change, but also it forced us to get out of that building and get out and think about how we worship differently, and also re-engage in our communities.
Yeah. A lot of times I kind of jokingly say, but there's a lot of truth to it. If the disciples had the technology that we had now,
oh my gosh,
what would the church look like? How would they be able to use that? And I just think it looked totally different. What if we only had the Bible to go by and we said, hey, we're going to build something else, but we're going to take full advantage of what technology we've got now, what resources we have now, how much greater of an impact can we make? And especially when we're plugging different people into those different passions and drives, I mean, it's going to flourish something greater because, like I said, it's a movement. It's not about one particular church or entity. I'm wanting to create just this huge movement. It's kind of draw back from what I think we're on the verge of a huge new awakening, and that all comes from speaking life into people where they can really see what God's trying to do in their lives and just bringing them to that.
Well, yeah, and I think, when we look historically, I think T.D. Jakes talked about this, and actually, I know he talked about this in just a sermon I watched recently, is that, prior to Christianity, because it wasn't Christianity until Christ died at Pentecost, it was the movement, literally, or the way. And so that's what it was kind of deemed as, because there wasn't another name for it. So, if you go back to antiquity and to its original conception, it was just a movement. People just called it the movement. So if we can get back to that original thought process, that original ideology, and that original application, you can see that we're honoring Christ through the beginning, the way it was designed prior to other things that happened throughout history.
And kind of one of the other things I'm going to throw out there, I loved it because kind of what they were called was followers of the way. Because after Jesus died, but they were followers of the way before the term Christian, which Christian just means little Jesus. They were like Jesus. But before that term came into it, is followers of the way, because the only thing that really defined them was Jesus. Outside of that, they had no particular way of doing things. They were just out here just sharing Jesus, and that's
it.
That's my heart, is just Jesus.
And that's where we need to get back to, I think, in a lot of ways. And to talk about the video series, the Storyteller Series, how can we help someone find their way if we don't know their story? So I think it's going to be very impactful and very exciting to hear stories, and then to take that information and say, okay, now that I understand your story, your passion, your gifts, your talents, your skills, I've got somewhere that we can plug you in, and you can start putting all that to use for the kingdom.
Yeah, and there's so many different facets of this series, but kind of not to spoil too many things, but the first part of my series is character, and really looking at our story and what story we're telling, because that's the greatest evangelistic tool that we can use. I mean, we can go all day and quote scripture, we can share everything else, but really what people really communicate well with is our stories, when they can actually relate to us. We can tell them where we came from, what Jesus brought us to, and how he just ultimately changed our life and the direction we're going now. And when we can connect that to people, stories connect on a hugely different level.
Well, and if you think about prior to written language, all they had was stories. And you think about like the Gospels, that's why you see them told from each person's vantage point, because the only way to communicate information then was to tell it. So I think we're getting again back to our roots as followers of Christ, to be telling our stories. And we talk about the fact that the word says you'll know a tree by its fruit, which is your character, which is how you conduct yourself, and the way you speak, the way you walk, the way you help, the way you emulate Christ through the things that you do in your service. We're supposed to love others and serve them as Christ first served us. So I think that all of this encompasses the way that we are supposed to be moving forward.
And through that whole series, I'm so excited through it. And kind of a quick thing, I know with us coming up, hang on, I'm pulling up my calendar. So anyways, for March the 21st is kind of the first kind of group gathering that I'm wanting to have. And it's just a kind of a call to action. We're just bringing people in the room together and kind of highlight everything that God's planning to do through Awaken, and kind of letting everybody know in that room, hey, you've got a part to play. You've got a purpose for being here. I'm excited to see what God's going to do through you. And there's several people that I invited out. I'm already excited about it, because I've just been speaking life into them and excited for what God's going to do. So March the 21st is at 6:00 in Kingsport at the Emporium. That's kind of connected to Lamplight Theater.
Okay.
Right next to you.
So that's Broad Street. Is that correct?
That's Broad Street.
So guys, if you need directions, we'll make sure that in the event, we'll make sure that we've got at least an address, so we can get everybody there. If you need directions, if you need a ride, if you need to follow somebody, please, guys, don't hesitate to reach out to us about this. We really want everybody who has a heart for service, and a heart for connectivity and kingdom connections, and a heart to do something for the kingdom and for others, to be a part of this and to start getting to these as often as possible. So we are both very, very easy to reach. We are. I think he and I both pride ourselves on being approachable and being people that will respond and answer, both with when it comes to prayer requests or if you just anything that you need. But again, it's March 21st, 6 p.m. at the Emporium, and that's going to be on Broad Street in Kingsport, Tennessee. So again, we'll put that out there. But please, 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 guys, if you can make it, let's continue to grow this movement, right? I think you and I have talked about it, and many people that I've had on the show, we've talked about this shaking and this awakening that's happening within the body of Christ, and also within people who may not be as on fire as we are, but people are searching for truth. They're searching for a real connection. They're searching for a real relationship. And a good friend of mine, Seth, we were talking about this just yesterday, that it's already here. The movement is happening, and we believe firmly. Aaron Martin and I talk about this, that this is going to be the epicenter of something amazing, the Tri-City area. So you want to get on board if you want to be part of a new movement and a part of something that's going to be absolutely groundbreaking and life-changing. And anywhere we can plug you in, please don't hesitate to let us know what your interests are. Again, with the Awaken movement, this is going to be a prime example and a perfect opportunity for you guys to start talking about your dreams and your visions and your goals and the things that you want. What this meeting is for. It's not really for us to give you what we think we're doing. Yes, we'll share some of our vision and some of our concepts, but it's really about your story, helping us understand what it is that you want to do.
Kind of one thing that we kind of surround ourselves with is community. And one thing that we call our community groups, I just kind of like the word, the tribe. And that's kind of what we're calling this thing. If you want to look it up, it's a Facebook event. It's Tribe Nights. It's because we're called to be a tribe together. And a tribe is just there to help each other. They're out to hunt and gather together. They're to help raise the families of each other. A tribe just kind of speaks more fluently to what I'm trying to accomplish. That's what we're building. It's just a group that's wanting to be there for each other and help encourage each other and be what God's called us to be, something so much more than just normal things that we see.
Absolutely. I think that, it is communal. It is familial. We look at these pockets of denominations and buildings and everyone right now. Again, we're talking about the movement, things are changing and God's shifting. But prior to everything kind of being turned on its head, you see that people want to stay comfortable and they want to stay in their little place and they want to stay in this area of complacency and they don't want to work together. And imagine how much more we could do for our brothers and sisters in Christ and those who don't know Christ if we start pulling our resources together, if we start working together, if we start, connecting these different ministries together and all the different connections and people and influences they have on different demographics. Imagine the change that can happen when we start working as one body in Christ versus these little pockets of individuals.
Yeah. And we can even see that from a biblical level. There's often interactions, and sometimes it's heated interactions between Peter and Paul, when kind of Paul's calling out Peter and kind of going back to the law and everything else. But the thing about it, they were there to have the conversations with each other. It wasn't a separate church. They were still coming together at different points and interacting with each other. They were still there with each other. And that's kind of where we went off the rails of denomination, is because we've let that separate us instead of, sometimes when people are on the wrong path, it's all right to be like Paul and kind of call that out. But you've got to do it in a loving manner. But the whole thing about it, they were still one church. They were still doing it. Hey, we're for the greater good. And so many times we've become territorial. We've become competitive. Like, we've got to grow our church, or we've got to grow our ministry. And I get it. Yeah, we want those to grow. But when that's our only desire, we're missing it. We're supposed to be bringing people to Jesus and just awaken them to their reality so they can walk it out however God sees fit. And we can try to control things so much when it's all about the me, whatever I'm doing or what I'm a part of. Hey, let's just get out of that mindset. Let's just encourage and lift people up, and wherever God moves them, wherever God plugs them in, let that happen and let that be organic. That's a big thing of organic growth and organic chemistry, and just letting people go where God calls them to.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that we all have to continually work on, because if I'm only thinking about me, well, then I'm missing you, and we can't connect if you don't exist in my reality. So that's something, some food for thought, guys, a little nugget to take home. Guys, we always want to keep our podcast, even though he and I could talk for hours, and we often do. We definitely want to be respectful of your time, and we appreciate you guys listening to us again. 60 Days of Casual Word is out and available on Amazon. Get yourself a copy of that. Again, I've got 40 Days and Nights, Journey Through the Wilderness coming. I also have another book coming out, Baby Daddy, Changing the Narrative. We're going to be challenging men to become better fathers, better role models, better men of Christ. Kings Raising Kings is one of our hashtags, and that's what we want to do is to continue to help our brothers become better brothers, better fathers, better role models, better leaders in our communities and in our families. So, Joseph, man, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm so excited, guys. Be on the lookout for the video series. Spoiler alert, I'm going to be on one of them. Yes. Always excited about that, guys. I just always want to impart knowledge and encourage you guys and uplift and give you guys something to take home, something to feed off of, and hopefully something that you can impart onto somebody else. And that's what it's about, is giving you all the tools and giving you all the courage and giving you all the ability to go out here and share your story and to share your legacy and to share your love through Jesus into others. So, guys, as always, let's change the way that we think so we can change the way that we live. Until next time, stay blessed.